Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between LiquidJinro and mTwDIMAGA here on Scrap Station. We have Jinro spawning as the yellow Terran player over here at the 12 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have DIMAGA spawning as the red Zerg over here at the 3 o'clock position. Yeah, I had a pretty bad day in the StarCraft world. Try to come up with some new strategies, try to play a couple games, and I just easily got smoked. I am upgraded to the Diamond League now, and I did take a screenshot of me as first in the Diamond League since I was the only player in it. But besides that, I just had a pretty hard couple of games, and you know what? As opposed to just trying to throw my head against the wall, try to figure out and getting more and more down on myself, I said, you know what? Why don't I just shoutcast a couple games? So we have LiquidJinro spawning over here, setting up a standard 10 supply depot at the back of his base. I guess he's not worried about any baiting play coming in from DIMAGA. DIMAGA, on the other hand, not doing any of those extractor tricks, now getting that overlord, continuing to mine off of all of those drones, and we should see perhaps a 14 spawning pool. I would be very, very curious to actually try if he actually went for a 15 hatchery here on Scrap Station, since it is fairly exposed, and your opponent does know where you spawn. LiquidJinro now going to go and just set down this standard 12 racks. Should be setting up a refinery in just a moment. There we go. SCV now waiting there, going to go ahead and throw down that framework for that refinery as the overlord is now in the air. Now just going to get plenty of sight into the base of LiquidJinro. We have an SCV scout now moving out, and we do have a drone now moving over. So this is going to be a 16 drone coming down, setting up that early hatchery. So it is going to be a 16 hatchery followed most likely with a 15 spawning pool. And this is a very, very aggressive tactic, economically speaking, for DIMAGA. DIMAGA will not have units for quite some time. Now getting that spawning pool there. So that spawning pool just started along with getting that extractor. So that extractor is going to take some time as well. SCV is going to come in, quickly check to see if there is a hatchery already being laid down. He's going to quickly find that there is in fact a hatchery here. And let's see if he's going to try to throw down a bunker. No bunker. Overlord is in the air, catching sight of that. And now we have a Marine doing some scouting out. And it looks as though DIMAGA's gambit of getting that early hatchery will have no real ramifications in this fight over here. Now a drone moving out, perhaps to do some scouting of his own, or of his own. Some people telling me that drones are all workers are male. Some telling me that all workers are female. You know what? It seems like no one really knows the difference between the male and female Zerg. I'm just going to call him Daisy. If you don't like it, just think of Daisy as a unisex name. I know it really isn't, but yeah, Daisy the drone now going to get taken down by that Marino drone, now pulling back at that last moment. So 20 hit point SCV versus a 20 hit point drone as well. And this hatchery is now up, training up that early queen. So very, very early, very, very strong production. And now we see a factory play opening off into Hellions. So Hellions now going to be produced. Should be interesting to see if we're going to be doing a little bit of a swap there, and should most likely throw down a swap and also throwing down a starport. So this is a 1-1-1 build, and this 1-1-1 build is used in order to try to prevent any banelings. I got to try this on my front doors. This actually looks fairly decent. Front door, the weak point would be that reactor that has 400 hit points. Back over here, Zergling's now moving away. One Marine getting chased down, and a Zergling able to get that final kill there. However, double Hellions now being trained up out of the factory from Jinro. So Jinro going to be getting up those double Hellions, and this Zergling is going to get toasted in just a moment, as we're going to see that Zergling try to put a little bit of pressure on that reactor. Not the best thing to do. It's down, it's going to go. It actually takes a little bit of a hit there, and Hellions also have a fairly slow attack speed, 2.5 ground attack speed, almost as slow as a siege tank in terms of an attack in siege mode. So yeah, that is fairly slow. Back over here, DIMAGA now running off of 2 hatcheries, running off of 2 bases, not fully saturated, and hit the natural expansion just quite yet. Gonna go ahead and try to train up more drones, but in come these Hellions, and Hellions now going to try to pull away and perhaps get a couple of those Zergling kills, and then maybe even get some of that queen, or some damage on that queen, download those Zerglings, and now metabolic boost on those Zerglings. So those Zerglings are now going to be able to outrun those Hellions, and Hellions are not going to be able to deal the significant amount of damage that they needed to deal. Taking a look at the loss count, you can already see DIMAGA losing 250 versus LiquidJinro's 300. So things not looking good for LiquidJinro, but now quickly moving into a Viking reactor build. So very nicely done, swapping that swapping that reactor from producing double Hellions into double Vikings. I really like this play from Jinro. Very, very interesting, and give me one moment. Alright, my apologies for that. I'm trying to pick this up where I left this off. I'm not 100% sure where I left this off, but I needed to take care of my daughter. We do have some Vikings now coming in, and yeah, I think I came back a little bit early, but that's alright. So the Vikings now coming in, a nice Tech Lab reactor switch, and now with Vikings being trained up, those Vikings will be able to hunt down Overlords fairly easily. However, Zergling's now trying to pressure on this front door, and now going to go ahead and try to move in and take down this reactor. This reactor only very, very limited exposure. That one of the reasons why I like this front door is that only 2 Zerglings can get in there at a time, and now that one Viking only takes 3 or 4 shots to come in and deal that damage, and now pulling back once again. So we have 2 Vikings, 4 Vikings now in the air, continuing to move around. And now we have a couple queens also continuing to just try to spawn that creep as well. If they're able to continue to spawn that creep, and now Vikings coming into that ground mode, and now going to be able to push pressure that queen. We may get a transfusion. No, not enough energy for a transfusion. And that queen down to 1 hit point, able to escape. Down it goes. So 1 Viking for 1 queen. A little bit of an exchange there. A second queen will get taken down. However, now Vikings coming in from LiquidJinro over here to the north side as well. An expansion, another queen taken down. So 2 out of the 3 queens have been pressured. And now more drones getting pressured as well. Queen gonna have a hard time trying to come in and deal that damage, as that queen's coming in with that a little bit of that claw, and another queen just gonna get torn apart. So the production of DIMAGA seriously hurting now, as Jinro is just pressuring with all of these Vikings. So Vikings in that ground mode doing a great job. More Hydralisks need to come off that line, try to deal some damage. Hydralisks do have a faster attack rate than the Viking, even though the Viking has, more hit points. So it is a little bit of a toss-up in terms of who would win that fight. But obviously, if Vikings are in the air, Hydralisks will always win, since Vikings cannot attack ground while they are in that air mode. So now heavy losses for DIMAGA. You can take a look at the harvester count, 24 to 33. And there's a definite heavy loss, and now a command center being lifted off to the island expansion by LiquidJinro. Very nicely done. We do not have the ventral sack upgrades. I do not see a spire being laid down anywhere, and with that air superiority with those Vikings, this expansion should be set up fairly easily. A couple of missile turrets can be laid down very soon, and then all of these SCVs will be able to mine out fairly freely. Back over here, DIMAGA now probably curious as to why there is no expansion yet over here at the natural starting location. And now in comes some more Vikings into that ground mode. Zerglings, however, quickly running on in. 1 Viking quickly jumping into the air, now pulling back. So those Zerglings now unable to see over here, but now once again pressuring over here. So back and forth, a nice 2-pronged attack. Jinro gonna lose 2 of those Vikings, and now it's a fight between a Viking and a Hydralisk. Hydralisk gonna win there. Hydralisk down to 8 hit points, and now Vikings just continuing to just do a lot of pressure. Unit count now 3 Vikings, 2 siege tanks, and 1 Marine. Army count, Jinro is on the stronger end, and now an orbital command being upgraded over here. And Hydralisk being forced to stick in the back of that base, making sure that there are no Vikings, no more harassment, as now siege tanks are being trained up. So those siege tanks will be very, very strong against those Hydralisks in that siege mode. The siege tank only needing 2 shots to really take one down, and with that really, really long range of 13. A lot of the times, Hydralisks get taken down before they even get within range, unless there are Zerglings to try to counteract this whole entire fight. So more Vikings still being moved around. We have a couple creep tumors now being spread out across the map as well. So those creep tumors will be able to speed up the movement speed of all of those units as they try to come across. 1 Hydralisk then over here, army-wise, starting to even up a little bit more, as the harvester count starting to even up, 37 compared to 42. Jinro does have 1 mule currently mining, and only getting the gas out of here. Not quite sure why Jinro does not have auto mine off of this particular. There we go. Now sitting the rally point off of there, and now creep tumors continuing to spread across the map. More siege tanks coming in. A siege tank perhaps on this high ground would be fairly effective as well, preventing any of these destructible debris from being taken down. And now an overlord quickly able to spot this expansion over here. It realizes what is happening. Now does a scanner sweep, wants to see if there is any sort of spire. No, an infestation pit now being laid down. So infestors going to be coming in the short and very, very soon. We do have the speed movement upgrade for those overlords, but no ventral sacks yet. So we are not going to have a drop anytime soon. Currently, we have 2 refineries now sitting up back over here, Vikings and double bunkers. So the Terran is sieging up, sitting in his base, running off of 3 bases as well, trying to get as many mines over here. Should start trying to saturate this location, perhaps sending some missile turrets here to intercept any overlords that may be trying to come in for a drop. Vikings still flying around and giving plenty of sights, so those Vikings really know what's happening throughout the whole entire game. May try to take down that drone. No, drone not going to get taken down, as there's just a queen over here and more hydralisks over here, and both players just really dedicated towards macro arena right now. Both players just trying to get that stronger economy, try to get that stronger army. Jinro may try to expand over here to the gold minerals at the bottom left-hand corner of the map, as now we have more and more Zerglings being produced. Army-wise, taking a look at the unit combination, Vikings, siege tanks, and only 4 Marines. Not a strong counter to the number of Zerglings that I'm seeing coming in from DIMAGA. So even though Jinro has a slightly larger army, those Zerglings may be able to rip through many of those units before they're getting taken down and get within that 0 range of those siege tanks. A Thor now coming out, and the Thor, once again, not the unit he really wants to be training there. We do have 1 sensor tower with already an infestors coming out, and perhaps Neuroparasite. No Neuroparasite being researched. But with infestors, it doesn't take long to research Neuroparasite and then start to grab control of those Thors. Would you kindly kill your friends? Vikings sitting over here, and the siege tank sitting over here as well. Just Jinro just macroing up on a very, very heavy mech build. So this is Terran mech versus mass Ling, mass Hydra. Unit combinations: 16 Zerglings, 11 Hydralisks, and still just moving out. Both players just not wanting to engage just quite yet, because they are afraid of the amount of damage the other army will be able to deal, and then momentum is very, very difficult to stop at this stage. Infestors still seen over here. The Infestors do have some fungal growth, and still surprised that there is no researching of this Neuroparasite yet. A lot of minerals DIMAGA is sitting on. Yeah, did not mean to talk like Yoda. Yeah, a lot of DIMAGA is sitting on a lot of minerals, and not quite sure why he isn't trying to train up more. Perhaps he needs a little more queens, only running off of 2 queens, and now sitting on 3 bases. This hatchery should also get a queen as well. And now DIMAGA expanding over here to the bottom left-hand side as well. Zerglings still swarming as well, and these Zerglings moving so fast, and on and off that creep. Wait, almost 6 movement speed. As I mentioned earlier, I don't think anything moves quite as fast as Zerglings on the ground on creep. I don't think there's even an air unit that moves nearly as fast. However, Vikings, now a very, very large group of Vikings coming on in, but there are already Hydralisks coming in ready to intercept, and there are no weapons upgrades on those units. There are armor upgrades on these Hydralisks, and now Infestor getting a fungal growth off on a lot of these Hydralisks, or a lot of these Vikings, but these Hydralisks quickly getting taken down, and now moving on in to try to, I guess, get some kills off here, trying to take down some drones. Gonna go ahead and jump into the air, and now should perhaps, no, not gonna try to take down any of these overlords, as Hydralisks now coming in to shoo them away. Only 1 missile turret sitting there, and perhaps more missile turrets need to be built down. A command center being finished over here should perhaps get upgraded to an orbital command in just a moment. One of the things I don't like about Scrap Station is it is not mirrored that well. You can see here that these siege tanks are fairly guard this front door and can protect a little bit more of this expansion. This distance just seems a little bit further. Perhaps it's just a trick of the eyes, but you can take a look. There's that extractor, and the extractor is significantly farther here. But now, doesn't matter. Jinro taking this expansion over here that's hidden behind the destructible rocks, even though it only has 7 mineral patches compared to 8. Vikings now landing over here, taking down some of those drones. Going to go ahead and jump back into the air and use that vertical takeoff and move back out. Siege tank in that medevac, not really doing anything there. Zerglings now coming over here as well, so really going to be interested to see what's going to happen. Now we have a planetary fortress being laid down over here behind these destructible rocks, and perhaps siege tanks. Yeah, siege tanks now going to be dropped over here as well, so these siege tanks can siege up along here and then start taking on any Hydralisks that try to move on in. Zerglings have the level, have 2 upgrades already. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between DIMAGA and LiquidJinro here on Scrap Station.